Boom. Lone Chemist Podcast. It's your boy, the Lone Chemist. Episode 40. Wow, I can't believe... Actually, episode 40, that's kind of a milestone there. Damn, I forgot that I had been doing this 40 times.
Should we celebrate that?
Well, I mean, I am, 45 years old, so I got 5 more years before I can, really have the episode 40. I'm just kidding. I'm 26. My life isn't half over yet. My name is Johnny. I am the Lone Chemist, and with me, one of my favorite collaborators, the one, the only, the man who spreads love more than anybody I've ever seen and does so beautifully, Bailey from Breaking Banter and Loverboy Media. How's it going, buddy?
Yeah, good. Spreading the love. I immediately made that in my head. I was like, that sounds really creepy. And I was like, no, it's actually a lovely sentiment. So no, it's so good. I'm all good. It's early in the morning. I usually am not awake at this time here in Australia, but that's okay. We got a podcast to
do. Yeah, man. So I've been noticing this. Whenever I talk to you on Twitter, Instagram, or whatever, you are up till the late hours of the night, and you are just editing, and writing. I don't know how you do it, man. Honestly, how do you stay up for that long, and then do other things the next day?
Oh, look, since I've moved out, I've been sleeping more. So since I moved out of home into my own place, I've been sleeping a lot more. So it probably seems like I've probably moved into being nocturnal a bit more because I'm able to be. I don't have so I live with 3 other guys, and one of the other guys is a musician, and he's up all hours as well. So it's just we're just used to it being that way. I don't know, you just get used to it after a while. Because I've spent so much time shooting films when I was in high school and university, you just get used to not sleeping. So right now I feel like I should go back to bed after doing this, but I won't. You just get used to powering through. You're like, I'm up. Sleeping is a waste of time. You've got stuff to do. I guess that's kind of the process. If I could just plug in and recharge myself, I would, but it's the cost of the hustle.
Yeah, I mean, I'm no stranger to the all-nighters because I think this year alone in the lab I obviously have a depressing PhD student life. I think I've pulled maybe, I want to say 8 or 9 all-nighters just doing lab work and shit. It's been a struggle, man. So I'm right there with you with the
That's more
all-nighter.
powerful than me. No, that's more powerful than me because I've probably done 2 all-nighters this year max, and they were before the release of new videos, before the Lion King video, because it kept getting copyright claimed and stuff. I had to stay up all night.
Yeah.
I was like, guys, it'll be live at this time, and then everything fucked up, and I was like, I'm gonna have to stay awake all night to make this happen. So yeah, that's usually how it happens. But I haven't done any overnight before. If we used to see a movie we were going to review, you get out of the screening at 9:30 at night, and the embargo would be lifting in 2 hours. So you'd try to hustle and it'd never come together, but you'd stay up all night to post a review. Now I don't care. For me, it's not worth the extra. This sounds terrible because I know views are a hard commodity to come by,
Yeah.
but it's not worth the extra 2 or 3,000 views. I can't afford to be brain dead the next day. So yeah, I kind of try to avoid it now and yeah, work around it. I just post the stuff when I'm good to go.
Yeah, there's such a weird dichotomy between loving and hating the all-nighter, because on one hand I agree with you, I despise it because the effect the next day, you just feel like you're The Walking Dead. But on the other hand, you rarely get 8 or 9 hours of no one screwing with you, and you can literally just do your work uninterrupted. I do kind of like that aspect of it, but then you got to overdose on caffeine, which, I mean, you're not a coffee drinker. I drink absurd amounts of coffee when I do all-nighters, so
Yeah. There's an adrenaline aspect to it, that I still kind of get. I don't get it with the Breaking Banter videos anymore. Last night, editing this Midsommar review, and I got to 2 in the morning, and I was like, ugh, I have to be up early, and this sucks because I feel like no one's gonna watch it, and no one has. But with the Loverboy videos, I don't mind. If I've got to charge through it. Because that's how it goes when you're editing an essay. It's this kind of slow, meticulous process, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of this slow, and then when you're about to post it, it's just panic. You're just
Yeah.
like, there's so much in here that I've got to like go through and iron out, and it's just like, no, it's probably fine, but you just start kind of overly stressing. So
Yeah, like I felt that too, where it's like, I mean, you're no stranger to this, like having a project and you're fine tuning every little piece of it. And at a certain point, you got to just let it go and just do your own thing. Cause like, I mean,
yeah.
because you're really talented at what you do, obviously. Cause like, you're a baller and I fucking suck. So, but anyway, um,
No, dude, you've upped your game so fast. It's actually like insane. Like the Spectacular Now video, I was like, oh my God.
oh
Oh my
shucks.
God. Oh my God. Gone from like here to all the way up. So that was sick, man.
Thanks, dog. I appreciate it. Like, aside from my Adam McKay video, that's probably the video I'm like the most proud of in terms of like the argument that I make in the video. And also it's like so weirdly personal
Yeah.
to me because like that movie like shaped a massive part of my life. So um yeah, like I want to do like more videos like that where like I mean, they're not going to be a Thanos video where I like out of nowhere through literally nothing but luck get like a bunch of views in that video. Like I'd rather do like stuff that like I'm super like personally enriched in and passionate about, even if it
Yeah.
gets like it's it barely cracked 1,000 views and kind of hurt my soul a little bit. But I mean, it's not why I did it. It's like fuck it.
Well, sometimes you just got to get the stuff off your chest.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
like, you know, you can't just uh some things you've just got to say. You can't let it kind of go. So I'm just getting the pop out chat just so I can see.
No, it's okay.
Um,
Oh shit! Speaking of pop up chat, High Top Films sent us a $2 super chat saying "Dads?" question mark.
Dads,
I
you have
mean,
one father and it's me. I'm sorry. I'm your one and only father, the father of the Film Hub boys. That's me,
well,
the
well, I
dad of the group.
I mean, like, I mean, everyone. So I'm the dad of my podcast, and like, did you remember the Face App thing that happened a couple months ago? Like like
Yeah, 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 yeah.
so they all make jokes, and I'm like 55 years old. So like, there are three other hosts in the podcast, and they did Face App old pictures, like the secret podcast in like 20 years, and it was all of them old, and it was me at my current age. And so I was like, "Thanks, guys. I appreciate that." I mean, I'm only 26, so it's it's whatever. I'm basically half dead at this point, since whatever.
Well, climate change. We're,
I
we're, we're probably all halfway, let's be honest.
Yeah, I know, I'm intrinsically studying that very very closely. So
Yeah.
I know better than anybody. Wait, hold on, Bailey. How old are you again? I forget how old you are. You're like
23.
23. Okay, so like
23.
wait, I'm your dad. I'm 26, man. Like I got some gray in my beard, man.
Dude, I'm going grey already. Hey, I think that's part of like the no sleeping side effect is I'm going grey really fast, but that's okay.
Oh
I
yeah,
rock it. I rock the silver fox look.
oh yeah, salt and pepper, baby. Um,
That's
but just to offer you a little praise, man. Your Lion King video like almost made me tear up. Like it was like literally it came out at the perfect time because I was so disenchanted by the live action or the action version, so to speak. It was fantastic, man. You really did a great job with that.
thank you, man. That was kind of the idea was like try to time it with the remake because I figured people would be feeling, obviously it's a thing in general with YouTube videos. You want to try to get them out at the most relevant point, but I was like, I feel like a lot of people will be in the same boat as me where they're like, why did this happen when what we had was right? We
Yeah,
had the correct version.
yeah,
And I don't want to make it out as if remakes can have value. We've seen tons of remakes that have, but that one, not particularly.
yeah.
So yeah, and like with the big kind of thing, because I've got a lot of feedback from people saying that, oh, the video made me cry. I really connected with it, but like I didn't know as I was writing it that it was going to go there. Like I knew I was making the video from a personal place, because it was like my grandma's favorite movie, and she passed away recently, and I'd always wanted to do a video on it to kind of, um, you know, uh, almost as like a not like a reconnecting thing, but like just to kind of. I've had a lot of feelings about that movie, and I kind of wanted to capture a lot of the stuff that I think she saw in it, and so I was like, I wanted to make this, and as I was going on and through it, I kind of, basically like I'm cool to kind of say this here, but like the ending bit about kind of you know, you go on without your parents, and the cycle keeps moving and stuff, is actually I took it from something I said like at a funeral,
Yeah.
and I kind of just developed that out and turned it into, and I was like, yeah, I think this might be something. But I'd actually recorded all of the video until it got to that black and white part, and then I was like, I got nowhere to go with this, and then I kind of went there with it. And I'm glad people connected with it, and I'm glad that people watched it because, as we were saying before, it's so hard to get people to watch videos.
Well,
I was
yeah.
going to say particular apps, but yeah, just any video these days it's hard to get. Yeah.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, like, it was clearly obvious that like you had a really personal connection with the movie, but like, a lot of like the personal video essays sometimes lack that like relatability, even though it's so innately personal to whoever's the essayist. But you were able to kind of
Yeah.
you were kind of able to impart your own personal experience onto the video, but also make it insanely relatable for pretty much anybody that loves The Lion King, which I really appreciated because I mean that's my favorite Disney animated movie. So that's from Hercules because I'm Greek. But yeah, man. Like, yeah,
No, thanks,
yeah.
man.
It was really good, man.
We'll say
Honestly.
same thing with your Spec Now video. Like that's the hardest thing to do because, and it's what I'm struggling with the video that I'm working on now, which I can't disclose yet. But the video I'm working on now is the same thing with like it's an incredibly personal video. How do I um keep this? It's even more personal than the Lion King one, but it's like how do I keep this relatable for everyone while telling my story about my experience with with a movie.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you did that really well with the Spec Now video being like, this means a lot to me. Here's how I see it. And it's a case of just, I think for essayists doing that, it's just a case of balancing the me versus you thing
Mm-hmm.
and knowing when it's okay to say that you will feel this and that way anyone watching is feeling involved in it. But it's a tricky thing, especially when you're talking about movies that are more divisive, because you want to say like, I got this from it, you got this from it, but then people are like, I didn't, fuck you, and that's the response. So that's what you're dealing with. Um, but no, it is a really, really tricky thing. But I think what's been interesting the last couple of months, and I don't know if you've seen this as well, but I think there's been a bigger push towards video essay content, which is becoming it's this genre, I guess, that's broadening repeatedly. But there's been a bigger push for essay content to almost be creative focused.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of people can blow up of videos that are a lot more impersonal and a lot more kind of every frame of painting. But I think people really appreciate it's something that like I've learned primarily from guys like Alex from High Top and Mikey from Movies with Mikey and Patrick Willems and those guys is to really kind of connect with your audience as much as possible. So they're not waiting for you to cover a new topic, a particular topic. They're waiting for you
Your
to do
commentary.
what's next.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've been trying to cultivate. So the fact that, the next couple of videos I'm doing are ones that have been in demand for ages. They're big topics. They're, weird topics. But it's like, I want to do smaller stuff as well. And the point is to try to get to my audience to a place where I can go, I'm going to do a video on, well, like when I did the Assassin's Creed video, it's like my audience was not ready for me to do that. I was not ready to do that for the audience I had. And so like, I want to get to a place where I can just be like, hi, I want to do a video on Halo 2 or, something weirder. Like I want to do a video on Annihilation or some other, unknown kind of film. And people will watch it just because they want to watch what I have to say about it. Or
Yeah.
I'd love to do a video on Fleabag right now. I cannot stop thinking about the UK series Fleabag by Fleabag, and I'm like, I don't want to do it now because I don't know if you get this, but like, do you ever not want to do a topic? I mean, you're someone like me who puts out content at a slower rate because you put a
Yeah.
lot of it's a big process. We got a lot of other shit going on.
Yeah.
But like, do you ever go, I want to talk about this, but I don't want to talk about it now because I don't think I've got enough of a built-in base to watch it. Do you ever have that?
Absolutely. Dude, I have
Dude, I've got a backlog of stuff that I'm like, I can't do this yet.
dude, I have let me pull up my list actually right here. It's right on my desktop. It's called Unfinished Video Essays. I
Actually,
think,
yeah, I'm gonna bring up my list as
yeah,
well. I'm gonna.
I think I have 13 to 14 ideas or videos or premises or theses that I have not like finished yet because like either I'm not in a place where I want to offer my most insightful commentary, or I know for a fact that if I put this out, 6 people will appreciate it and everyone else will be like, why are you making a video about a movie about
You'll
next thing?
say something.
What's that?
Yeah, just. Oh, I'm just saying, like, everyone's like, "Yo, did you post anything this week? What does is there a new video out?" I don't even. Yeah,
Oh yeah. Well,
just
fuck it.
just quiet, tumbleweeds and shit.
I know.
Yeah, and it's depressing, especially when you really care about a topic. Yeah, well, that was impressive. When you really care about a topic, and it's just like everyone else is like, that's what sucks.
Yeah, like
But
for
I
example,
guess I guess it.
like there was a like a kind of a subsection of films that I think are like the early 2000s, like Garden State, for example, that are like quirky indie romances that actually touch on very, very human premises. And they kind of like, they move past the echelon of like just regular romantic or coming of age movies. Like, I think the spectacular now of all of like the modern movies that I've seen kind of fits into that genre pretty nicely. But I mean,
Yeah,
I'm gonna do a video on it like you said, when I get a decent enough audience where like they actually give a fuck about what I have to say.
you're
Like,
beating me, so you're. Yeah.
dog. Okay, this is what pisses me off. Okay, so like that Thanos video blew up out of nowhere. I went to bed and it was at like it was sitting at like literally like 6,000 views since I posted it in 2018. And then I woke up and it was at 60K. And then all the comments were either, hey, I never thought about this. Great video, man. Really great. Or it's nice fucking voice crack, idiot. Like, ha ha ha, ha, douche. Like, and like, I'm cringing because I'm like, I'm really honored that people watch the video. But on the other hand, there are so many editing mistakes in that video that I cringe at when I watch that video back. I'm just like it could have been something that I spent more time on, or I was like better
Yeah,
at.
you're like, does it have to be this one?
I'm like, oh, fuck. Like,
Yeah.
there's a massive voice crack that's like, I know the time code, 14 minutes and 4 seconds. Check out my fantasy if you want to watch that. 14 minutes 4 seconds. His own daughter. Like, it's the loudest voice crack ever, and it was before I gave a shit about audio editing, or I gave a shit about placement of like sound waves and shit. And I'm like, okay, I'm really thankful for the audience that they gave me, but like, it had to be this. Like, really? Like, it had to be.
No, I get you, man. There was like the biggest video. I'm glad the Toy Story 4 one overtook it this year, but the biggest video I had this year on Breaking Banter was my review of the third episode of this year's Game of Thrones. And it was the episode everyone hated. And I was like, I kind of liked it. And it was just like 700 comments of like, fuck you, fuck you. And like 90K people watched it. And you're like, oh, I appreciate the viewership. I will take the money for it. That's fine. But like you have videos like that, which are just like dead weight because no one's going to subscribe to you because you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
nothing worse than getting a video being popular because people, yeah, a video getting popular because people like hate what you're saying is the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like a fear. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I haven't talked about Star Wars in a while.
Well, actually,
Hi, I really like Star Wars, and everyone's like, fuck you.
all right. Well, I mean, have you seen the new trailer? Yeah, you're not a big fan of trailers,
Oh,
are you?
okay. So, before we get into this, I've like blocked everything Star Wars related. I've literally
Got
muted
it.
all of my mutuals that post a lot of Star Wars. I'm like, and it's because I'm so excited. Like, it's not because I'm not excited or I don't want to talk about it. Or I want to be involved in the conversations. But like these days, everyone like posts every single screenshot from a trailer. They break
Yeah.
it down, they theorize. I'm like, I don't want to. I
Yeah.
was fucking on board from, like I'm gonna see it no matter what. I don't want to know anything. So I hate to like that's like shutting down the conversation potential there, but I don't really want to talk about it. I know it's probably going to be my favorite of the lot. It's J.J. Abrams again with Dan Mindell as cinematographer. That team. Where were you at on The Force Awakens at least? Like where were you? How do
Um,
you feel about that?
I like The Force Awakens. I think it treads familiar territory a little too familiarly. I think
Yeah,
that
yeah.
yeah, like taking the star killer base and literally just be a big ass version of the Death Star. I'm just like
Yeah.
I'm like I get why it's done. You want the smooth transition to like get new people interested in the franchise and like kind of like capture some nostalgia for the old stuff. But at the end of the day, like a lot of the beats of the plot kind of do fall in lockstep with a lot of things from A New Hope. So that's why my biggest problem with it. But I mean, in terms of like the intangibles, in terms of like the execution, the technicalities, I think it's a beautiful film. I think it's a lot of fun. It's I thought it was the best that they could possibly do with revitalizing a 30-year-old franchise and not having it be like, you know, the exact same film. It was very similar, but I think you said this in the last podcast. I don't think JJ has written a shitty script, even though he's like made a couple missteps in his career. And so, like, I think The Force Awakens is definitely checking that box where, like, he gives the characters motivation, which kind of gets thrown out the door in The Last Jedi, but that's another conversation. And then with
that we will steer clear of.
well, no, we already talked about The Last Jedi in the last podcast, where it's like,
it's impossible for me not to talk about it because it's like I think about it daily. Like it's kind of impossible for me to not.
And look, I'll say it again. Like I don't think it's the worst Star Wars film by any means, and there are some things that are genuinely jaw dropping in the movie, but there's still a lot of plot holes and context ridden stuff that I really wasn't a fan of. But it doesn't mean that like people that like the movie are stupid or anything. Like you know, you love the movie, John.
You're stupid.
no, you're stupid.
Yeah, but I'm stupid though, so that's fair enough.
Yeah, but, dude, look at me, man. I'm wearing a backwards hat and wearing a shirt with a fucking whale on it. I'm the stupidest one on the podcast here.
Shut up.
All right.
But
I want to talk about Midsommar because I recently saw it as well. So I didn't get a chance to watch your review because I actually wanted to save my my things I have to say about it until we talked.
No, that's so good.
So what did you take? Okay, back up a little bit. What do you think about Ari Aster as a filmmaker, and what did you think about Hereditary?
So it's a very complex thing, I think, with him, and it's why I didn't want to review Midsommar. But it's like, there's some filmmakers where I can't like work out whether what they're doing. Like it's always hard to work out whether a filmmaker is intending your response to be the way it is or not. But like he doesn't play by the rules of horror that we usually see. Like he just goes, I'm gonna set up a couple of things, and then we're just gonna go from this shit to this shit to this shit, and then this is gonna lead to this shit, and it's gonna be fucking weird, and it's gonna be uncomfortable, and I'm gonna scare you along the way. We're just gonna do a thing. And so like it's really hard for me to talk about his films and relate to how other people are gonna go, because like I love that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love that he does it that way, but it's so hard to be like with Midsommar particularly, like, oh, I can break down what it's about at this, kind of step back level and say, it's a movie about how, we deal with grief and how, it's only damaging to stay in, toxic relationships and all that. But it's like on a moment to moment basis, I've got no fucking idea what's going on. And I love that. So like, it's the same thing with Hereditary, where it's like, I think we're used to watching horror movies and there being, some big twist which reveals that the demon came from here, and if we stop this, it'll stop. But his movies don't work like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it makes it, really difficult to talk about him. Put it this way, like, I love him. And I, constantly excited to see what he does next. I don't know if you've seen his short films that are on Vimeo.
I haven't seen that.
But they're incredible, man. I think, the one he did before Hereditary was like The Funny Thing About the Johnsons, or I don't know, just look it up on Vimeo. It's about 20 minutes. It's a really fascinating movie though. But yeah, I find him to be an incredibly interesting director, but I feel like I won't know whether like, I don't want to put it this way because I have faith in the dude, but I won't know whether he's like a hack or not who just does weird shit and I just happen to like it until I see him work in a different genre.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In horror, as I've said, like he just doesn't play by the rules. So it's hard to know like whether he's just some crazy dude who's like, we're gonna do a bunch of weird shit. Some cult shit that I hope, so it's hard to tell.
Nice.
You're a big fan of Hereditary, right?
I loved Hereditary. So I'll give you my sentiment on Hereditary real quick. So Hereditary was one of the few horror films that enters into that category of not just the imagery sticks with you, but just the sentiment it gives off emotionally hits you in the stomach. Like, you know, for a couple of reasons. So number one, like spoilers for all of Ari Aster's movies, Midsommar and Hereditary. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. Um, like the whole basis of the movie, like, you know, being thematically about how we deal with family tragedy and how we deal with, like, you know, our past, you know, dictating who we have become and who we will become. I thought that was a brilliant, brilliant commentary on that particular subject. And the fact that it was centered in a really bombastic and grotesque and horrifying movie like that was something that I haven't really seen since probably The Exorcist or Rosemary's Baby. Like those movies that, like, they capture a very profound emotional sentiment within the confines of that really, really genre-esque movie. So I thought it walked the line beautifully. And I mean, just emotionally, when Toni Collette loses her daughter and you see her sob as, like, the coffin's being lowered into the ground, like
Iconic. Iconic.
but like legitimately, like, that's a scene that it's like, fuck, like, I don't know if I ever want to fucking see that again, because like the emotion that gives off, like, I'm like, holy shit, it like
It's such a horrific like cry as well. Like actors very rarely get into the real ugly zone of crying. It's usually pretty crying, but that's like blood curdling, like soul destroying shit.
like
I can hear that in my nightmares.
like legitimately that, like probably 45-second thing where, like, you see Charlie's head, you see um you know, the parents, like, you know, slowly like zoom out with, like, the mom, like, you know, overcome with grief and like on the floor crying, and then in the same staging it zooms in while, like, you know, they're laying the daughter to rest, like in the casket at the funeral. That 45-second little montage will stick with me to the day I die. Like it, like that hit me in the goddamn stomach. So, and I think that, like, Hereditary walks the line of being somewhat pretentious and somewhat preachy, but also, you know, basing it in a real world premise where you can actually ascertain what he's trying to do and why he's pairing it with the horror kind of aesthetic. Like, you know, you understand why, you know, he's using a horror film to tell a story about codependence and family issues and letting your skeletons come out of the closet. With Hereditary, though, I don't think he did as well with
with Midsommar,
with Midsommar. I don't think he did as well with, you know, the correlation between the thematic expression of the film and and, like, you know, the horror kind of grotesque aspects. Because, for example, you know, again, spoilers, the beginning suicide imagery that we see is some of the most horrific shit I've ever seen on film.
Oh, dude, that first 20 minutes was like so good. I knew from the second the title started, like 20 minutes in or whatever, that I was like, the rest of the movie, no matter how good it is not gonna be able to, like, or like no matter how much I love it, my love of anything else in this movie is not gonna match that.
Yeah.
Like that was some searing shit. And like I guess it was right, because like aside from that imagery at the start, everything kind of happens.
Yeah, and so, like,
and then you get to the ending and you're like, I get what it was doing, but it's like not as clear as it was from point A to point B as Hereditary was.
Yeah, and like, but there are some things later in the movie that are super, super clear, and also that kind of like goes into some of my issues of the movie. But like going on that original premise set up, like, so if we base it back to Hereditary, that tragedy that ignites all the inciting incidents of the movie, that actually has relevance. It comes full circle by the end of the film. Like, you know, but with Midsommar, I feel like the tragedy was just there to be a tragedy, and there wasn't really a lot of precedence for why they died in that specific way, why the sister was, you know, the one to enact that. Obviously, she was bipolar and like manic, but like there wasn't really a lot of like payoff for that whole sequence being anything other than, like, you know, stricken in grief, like, for the main character. And that's how I felt about it. But like, you know, on the other hand, then the movie kind of takes a detour, and then it goes towards like a commentary on codependence and ending a toxic relationship. And this is when it gets kind of preachy. Like, you know, they sew Christian into the bear suit and they burn him alive, and basically that's like an allegory for he's the beast, he's the one who's devouring the souls of, like, you know, the girl that he's dating. And I get that, and it's a beautiful image, but like I just think that there's a less heavy-handed way of putting that on the screen, in my opinion.
See, there's something that I've found, and I found it with doing the current video I'm working on, is like I think subtlety, like I'm breaking all the rules here with what I'm about to say because I'm using a word I don't use. But I think subtlety's overrated. It not overrated because I don't really care. Like if other people think it's whatever, but like for me, I honestly think that subtlety is like the reason why I think so many and I guess it's kind of what makes art films, but I think it's why so many of the general audience struggle to like connect to the movies that I guess people that are really into film
Yeah.
connect to. And it's like, I think with a movie that's already not overtly stating what it's about, I think you've got to go bold sometimes. And I
Yeah.
think, like, even if on a moment to moment basis you watch Midsummer and go, I don't really get what the fuck's going on. I think as long as you get the moments like that kind of ending moment, you get what it's about.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I think you have to be bold in certain moments like that so it translates.
Yeah.
But because
But
otherwise
yeah. But
it's just confusing, weird imagery, I guess, for
yeah.
most people.
Yeah, so like, but my point was like, I'm not saying that it's not abundantly clear, and I'm not saying that it's not well executed. I totally agree, and like that whole sequence of the pyre being burnt, a triangle that's like completely going off in
Yeah,
flames, and it zooms in on the bear's carcass, like the silhouette of that. I think it's beautiful, but like that point of him being a beast and him being like the soul sucking part of the relationship is already so abundantly clear in the movie. I thought that it wasn't as necessary as the things that came before it. Like you kind of
yeah,
understand that
okay,
like the guy is like kind of like a leech towards the beginning of the film because like I
yeah,
mean the only reason why he brings her along is basically a mistake. Like he brings it up while she's like brings up the whole trip like while she's like going through her grief, and then she feels like she's being left out, and then of course like she comes with. And like just from like situations that occur in the movie, that soul sucking leech aspect was so abundantly clear that like the bear thing for me kind of cheapened it. But I'm not saying that it's not a beautiful moment. It absolutely is gorgeous. I just think that thematically, I think that the movie already kind of put that in the forefront. And then that was I mean I guess it could be kind of seen as a positive. It's kind of the icing on the cake at the end of the movie. Um,
yeah.
but that's just me. Like I really did enjoy the movie. I think I enjoyed Hereditary a lot more. But it kind of shows that this guy is kind of like an unrivaled guy in horror. I mean, even if like some people don't dig on the art house aspect of his films, like he's really an auteur that's kind of doing something completely different in this
Yeah.
genre. Um,
He
and
kind of exists in his own space. He's kind
he
of
does, yeah,
cultivated his own space where it's like this guy does his things his way. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
There's who's the other one as well that because A24's got a bunch of directors under their belt. Oh, Trey Edward Schultz. Did you see It Comes at Night?
yeah, dude, yeah,
Were you a fan of that?
yeah. I liked it a lot. Yeah, it was cool, really
Yeah, I
cool.
think if you're a fan of Hereditary, you're probably a fan of that. But like he's now going into doing I don't know if it's still a musical or not. His next film is not horror. And it's like that's where I want to see Ari go next is to do something where it's like, oh, you've done the horror thing. Let's like move because I know like Jordan Peele has said he wants to keep doing horror films for as long as he's got things to say. He wants to continue using that genre. But I'd really like to see Ari go into a different kind of field. I'd actually love to see him do a comedy. Like I'd really love to see him do a straight up comedy because he when he wants to go comedic, like Midsummer really has some
It
excellent comedic
does, yeah,
moments.
it does, really does, yeah,
The mushroom trip early on is like, yeah, I was like, this is incredible. And I'd actually love to. I feel like he'll be the type of guy who won't work with the same cast members repeatedly, but I would love to see him work with Will Poulter again.
yeah. Like
Um,
I want to say with Toni Collette again because Toni
oh
Collette
yeah,
is probably one of the most underrated actresses that's in Hollywood right
oh
now.
dude,
It's kind of like absurd, like just because of the genre she chooses to work in, like people don't give her enough credit, and like she's given some absolutely stunning performances, and just because they're centered on thrillers slash horrors, they don't get the recognition they deserve. It's really
if it's any consolation, she's like a massive icon here. Like she's a big deal in
she
Australia.
okay good.
Obviously, 'cause that's
Yeah.
that's where she's from. But she's like a huge like Toni Collette is a big deal here. But I guess maybe she hasn't made as much of a splash in the States and around the world as say Kate Blanchett has, or
Yeah.
um, other Australian actresses that I can't think of. Is
Hugh,
it just Kate Blanchett that we've got? No, we've got a ton, but I
Hugh
just
Jackman. You got uh
oh yeah. Oh
Hemsworth,
yeah, no,
right?
no, plenty of actors in terms of
Yeah.
yeah, ton coming through right now. God, just making me think about how good is Ben Mendelsohn and why is he not in more? Why is he not in everything?
Dude,
You a Ben Mendelsohn fan?
his voice, like okay, have you seen this?
So bizarre, but
He
it's so good.
he does this radio show. And like he recites "I just can't wait to be king" with like weird, eerie horror music in the background, and he makes that monologue from Simba sound like the scariest, most didactic, horrible thing you've ever heard. And it's just like, fuck. You haven't seen that?
Right.
You haven't
No,
seen?
I haven't
Oh,
seen that. I haven't seen. You
okay.
gotta link that to me afterwards.
Yeah, just Google Ben Mendelsohn. I just can't wait to be king, and like,
Okay.
it's like you watch it and you're like, uh.
Yeah, no, he's someone who I'm glad's like started picking up in is appearing in a bunch of stuff because he's someone who's fantastic.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to give a quick moment to Ben Mendelsohn,
Yeah.
the King. Actually, speaking of, he's in a movie called The King this year where he plays the King. So there
Really?
you go.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's meta.
new a film with Timothy Chalamet and a bunch of others, Robert Pattinson. A Netflix film coming out in October. I think it's the director of War Machine and The Rover, an Australian dude. Anyway,
War Machine.
trivia.
What's what's a War Machine? Which one is that
War
one?
Machine was the Brad Pitt comedy that went to Netflix last year.
Oh, when he plays the sergeant. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I didn't actually end up seeing it, which I feel like I should. It was one of those movies I was keen for, and then I saw like the reviews, and I was like, I'll get to it, and then I never get to it. It just never happens. If I don't watch something immediately, I'm like, yeah, I'll get to it, and I won't. I've watched like actually I've watched a couple of movies this week, but I've been watching like maximum 2 episodes of TV a week, and there's so much shit that's come out. Like Mindhunter came out, and I was like, oh, like the last 2 years, I'm like, oh, I can't wait for a new season of Mindhunter, and then I haven't seen it yet. So
Speaking of like TV and series, did you know that Quentin Tarantino is now recutting a lot of his movies to be miniseries?
yeah, I haven't checked it out yet. I've got one of my housemates watched the
The Hateful Eight.
recut of Hateful Eight and was like, oh my God.
It
And I'm
is
very keen to see the recut of Once Upon a Time.
as like a
But
chapter
yeah,
thing. Yeah, like
yeah,
dude, I adored so I already love the Hateful Eight. People like sometimes
yeah.
people hate in that movie because it's like very
Oh, I
slow.
know, I froth it. I froth it.
Yeah, I love that movie. And like, but I will say the episodic way it tells the story, I think, is infinitely more compelling than the cinematic cut of it, because like the way the episodes end, like where they choose to actually have the end of the episode, is so interesting, and it actually guides the story, in my opinion, with a lot more momentum than it would be in the cinematic version. And that kind of speaks to the fact that like Tarantino has always played with the idea that he wants to do miniseries. Like he said, like, okay, film is kind of like, becoming something that I didn't really sign up for with the whole digitization of all the, all movie
Yeah.
production. So he said, like, if I'm going to like, do this, I want it to be in a medium that I think is, respectable. So I want to make miniseries. So you can like tell a long ass story, write everything you possibly can, and then film it in 6 to 8 hours. I think that literally is the perfect medium for
Yeah.
him, because like, I mean, just the fact that he recut one of his movies and it blended so well with the miniseries kind of aesthetic, I thought was just fantastic. And also like they add a lot of new footage in, because I'm like a Tarantino super fan, so seeing all that stuff was pretty sweet.
Yeah, well, it's like he keeps talking about he's going to get to 10 films and then quit. But it's like 10 films and then he's going to do 10 series, or like I feel like he won't stop. I feel like he just move into TV.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
he never said I'm not going to do series. And considering all the different streaming services now are just like, give us content, and they love to have him do whatever he wants. I mean, I don't know if you looked at the deal that he got for Once Upon a Time, but he basically, like, because once his contract once he bailed on Weinstein,
Yeah.
everyone was like, we'll take him, Universal, Sony, Paramount. There was a bunch that were like, we'll take him. and he was like, I want $95 million. I want full rights to my film after like 10 years. I want to have final cut. And Sony was just like, yeah, we'll do it. So I feel like he'll end up in the same situation where the studios go, or like the streaming services go, hi, hey, how you doing? You want to make something for us? Like, yeah.
Here's
So
a
yeah, I
here's
think
a bag of money.
yeah, that's it. Well, I don't even know. I haven't checked the numbers that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood did. I think it had a big opening, and then I don't know how it's progressed since then because it got released slowly. Like we got it late here, I think. A couple of other places haven't got it yet. But yeah, I think it's just the case of like there's a lot of prestige to having him. So to be able to say that your streaming service, like, hi, we get Tarantino's movies, I think there's a lot of considering right now there's so many streaming services that everyone's kind of like, how many are you subscribed to? How many different streaming services are you currently sub to?
I have Netflix, obviously. I have Amazon Prime, and
Yeah.
but I have Hulu, but that's free with like my the school that I go to. They
Okay.
give you a free one.
Okay. Yeah. So we have Netflix. Oh, we like alternate though. You know what I mean? Like that's what we do now is like we have a service and then like we've always got Netflix, but we'll have a service and then cancel it when a show finishes. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like we'll get it to watch a certain thing and then cancel it um straight after. So I had like the free trial for Amazon Prime and I just busted through and watched like everything that I wanted to get through, which was just Fleabag, let's be honest.
Yeah,
But I busted through that and then was like, all right, let's get rid of Amazon for now and then I'll get it back if something. They've got Lord of the Rings, don't they? The Lord
I
of the Rings
I'm pretty
series.
sure.
I'll get it
Yeah.
back in a couple of years. Yeah, I'll get it back in a couple of years when they do that. Unless that series turns out to be apparently it's going to be like a 22 episode first season, and I was like, nah, fuck that. A 12 episode season is too long for me. So a 22 episode is like my a season is my worst fucking nightmare.
Wait, and it's also like premium content, no commercials, and presumably like 45 to 60 minutes per episode.
Yeah.
Like that's a pretty big budget for fucking one TV show. What the hell?
Well, I don't know what the confirmation was on that because there's obviously the thing where it's like they're dropping $1 billion on it straight up. And I'm like, is that for one season or two seasons? But I just saw like a couple of reports be like, yo, it's 20 episodes. And I was like, no, fuck that. Give me like a 6 episode season.
Yeah.
Um, it's
Wow.
20 episodes at $1 billion is actually not that much when you think about it. I mean, it's
True.
a lot for an episode of TV. Like an episode of TV shouldn't cost,
That
um,
much. Yeah.
that much. But I guess, yeah, you got to start paying actors more and more as you go along. And I'm keen to see the casting for it though,
Yeah, for
considering
sure.
they're not remaking Lord of the Rings as such. Like they're apparently not even using the books directly. Like they're like doing something else with it.
It's like
Like it's a different story, different characters or something.
it's like an anthology just based in that universe.
No, I don't. I think it's just like a side story. So it's not like about the Fellowship going and taking the ring to Mordor. I think it's something different.
Okay. So
Yeah,
just
which I prefer the idea of to be honest because like I really trust. Like I wasn't a big fan of Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, but I trust the director they've got on for the first two, which is J.A. Bayona, who also did a Monster Calls, The Impossible, and I think The Orphan. Anyway, I really love him as a director, but it's like as much as I trust him, it's like The Lord of the Rings is something that should never be remade.
hell no.
It's actually I was thinking about this the other day. Like we're in the golden age of, I guess, call it. It's not golden. It's like the shit age of remakes, right? But but movies is shit enough, but just wait till they start remaking TV shows because they've already done it with a couple, and just wait till someone goes, "All right, we're remaking Breaking Bad." Like, because
Sacrilege.
it'll happen. No, but I am convinced it will happen. They're going to remake Game of Thrones. And oh, he's dead. We've killed him. The thought has destroyed you. No, they're going to remake Breaking Bad at one point. They're going to remake Game of Thrones, which I guess might have its benefits, depending on where you're situated on how it went down in the end.
Oh
Just,
man.
I don't want to be like a remake The Last Jedi type person, but yeah, you could remake the last two seasons. I wouldn't mind that. Not that
Hmm.
I like the last two seasons, but But no, I honestly think we're going to get to the stage where people remake TV shows. Someone will go back and redo The Wire. Someone will go back and redo The Sopranos. Um,
Just
I think it'll be a thing. No, and it's horrifying to think of. Like I haven't seen The Wire or The Sopranos, even though I've got a box set of The
really?
Wire sitting up there.
What?
No, as I said, man, like I only really got into TV quite late, and I was never someone who sat there and just. I've never been able to just sit there and watch episodes of TV. Um, at the same rate seemingly everyone else does. Like I've just see like so and so's just worked through an entire season or something in 2 days, and I'm like, haha, fuck! It took me 3 months to watch all of Chernobyl. So, um, did you check that out by the way? Have you seen
So,
Chernobyl yet?
so that's the one thing where you can shit on me for it. I have not been able to see it yet, and I hear it's
Dude,
fantastic.
I got to it like a month late, so it's no stress. But definitely check that out, man. Like that's maybe the best thing I've seen this year. Is it? No, oh, Fleabag. Fleabag's been my favorite thing I've watched so far this year,
Okay,
just
so
in
you
general.
have been
But
standing that show
oh,
every day on
dude,
Twitter. So sell to me why I should watch Fleabag. Give me the premise and why I should watch it, because I had not heard one single thing about the show besides you.
okay, no, so it's a UK series. If it does help, it is the best reviewed TV series of the year. But basically, it's about this character Fleabag, who is a uh, basically a sex addict whose life is falling apart, and it's about her just almost. I kind of don't want to say too much about it because like you'll watch the first episode and you'll be like, oh yes, but it's her basically just trying to get through her day-to-day life as everything she touches turns to shit. And the hook of the series is that she speaks to the camera continuously throughout any given sequence. So like she'll describe how something's about to go down. You know, she'll be waiting at the front door for someone to arrive and she'll be talking to you about what she thinks going to happen. And then the scene starts happening and it either goes like the way she expects it to or the way or you know, it's a really incredible, like it's so intelligent. It is one of the smartest series I've ever seen from the point that like you know, when you get to later episodes, shit'll just get reincorporated, and you'll just be like, where did that come from? Like, what? Um, yeah, or I'd say just check out the first episode and you'll get what I mean. But it's like this weird connection to this character that like is living her life, but living it with you.
Yeah.
You know, someone will say something to her that's like, oh, that's fucking weird. And she'll just kind of like side eye the camera, like, okay. And then like just goes straight back into the conversation or it's just a weird thing of like, yeah, this character providing commentary on her life while it's happening. It was based on a stage show that was a huge success, and then BBC was like, we're going to turn it into a series, and now the series was a big hit. She's also so Phoebe Waller-Bridge wrote the show, and she stars in it, and she's also the lead writer on Killing Eve, which I'm sure you would have heard of. Been another big hit with the Emmys, Killing Eve as well. And now she's one of the writers of the new Bond film.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, so she's had like a massive career spike. She's now doing the show on Broadway and stuff. But like, I don't really know how to pitch it because it's like, it's such a bizarre concept because it's like one of those shows that's just about like super mundane stuff.
Yeah.
But when you put it through the lens, it's done through um, with this character who just nothing fucking goes right for her ever. And she is pretty much like a shitty human being, but you just like, you're so attached to like how human she is. I don't know. I can't pitch it any
All
better
right.
than that. But like, yeah,
I'm sold. There you go.
anyone watching right now, you Johnny, check out the first episode, and you'll get what I mean. Within like the first 5 minutes, you'll be like, oh, this is a thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's been like I will stand it till I die, man. It's the show I needed.
All right, I'll have to watch it. And also, like, people always like are like very hit or miss about the fourth wall breaking and stuff. But I mean, I'm a huge Adam McKay shill, so I love that kind of shit. So I'm
Yeah.
sure that I'll
Oh, dude, yes. Yes, it's like it's got the best fourth wall breaking of pretty much anything I've seen. Like
Really?
obviously we know you yeah, you were a big fan of Vice, weren't you? We
I
did
love.
talk about this.
We'll talk about this.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, after this, we'll talk about Vice. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, you were a huge fan of Vice, so it's got I'd say the same. I was the same energy as Vice. Like Deadpool's a very different fourth wall break. I think this exists in very much the same kind of, a lot of the same space as Vice. You know, where just characters just talking about something, then it cuts away to you're like, all right, what the fuck are we doing here? And then the character
Yeah.
starts commentating within that scene, and then they come. Yeah, it's really, really something. But yeah, Vice,
All right.
because
So
we haven't really talked about it since. I know we talked about it a lot before because we were going on about how much we both love Adam McKay.
yeah.
Um,
So let me just say
but yeah,
this. So all right. So I will say up front, I've said this a million times in this podcast, so anyone listening, please kill me. I totally get why people may not like the movie. The movie is really unorthodox. The movie is strange, and the movie does not shy away from the opinions that Adam McKay has. And like, it's how do I put this? Like, I totally am on board with the fact that if you either A, don't politically agree with some of the things that are presented in the movie, or you don't like the unorthodox editing style or like the way it presents the narrative sequencing wise, you're not going to like the movie. I totally get that. But put all that shit aside where you fall either in the political spectrum or your creative tastes. If you look at that movie from a third party perspective, you can't deny that like it is complete irreverent style and it is complete creative genius. Like there's just so much of that movie that I
dude, people can argue anything, but I'm with you. Like people can argue anything, and I'd be like, yeah, okay, that's fair enough, or it's interesting or whatever. But like, I'm with you. I think that like that was one of my favorite movies of last year. It's
yeah
fucking
I loved it and
on
like
another level.
yeah and people like to like shit on the editing. We're like, no, the editing ruined the movie because like it takes me out of the scene. I'm like, that's not the point.
Yes.
It's to complement the
No,
scene.
like,
Like literally, the editing is to literally the only reason it's like that is because it wants to provide a direct metaphorical representation of what you're seeing on screen. Case in point, when Chaney gets to Washington and is talking to all of his surrogates about like their roles, then he uses fucking Stratego to instead of like a really drawn out, well, you're going to be over here, doing this, you're going to be doing that. No, it shows a board game, and that immediately shows you that Chaney's in control, Chaney's rolling the dice, and Chaney has all the cards to play with. Like,
and like in a way, like this is the thing that we were talking about just before with Ari Aster. Like he's not necessarily subtle. He's quite bold about stuff, but I think it's because, and this is the same thing he did with The Big Short. He wants you to take it in. He doesn't want you to have a passive experience. You're saying just then about the editing's supposed to complement the scene. I really think it's continually there to bring you out of the scene. The thing is that we've talked about this with The Big Short is the fast editing style and the frenetic stuff. There's the scene from The Big Short that I will think about till the day I die is the one with I was going to say Michael Scott. No, with Steve Carell when he's with the guy talking about
the sushi restaurant, right?
Yes, and it keeps cutting away to the guy with the knives and with the
sashimi knives,
like
yeah.
to constantly like have that sound like in your ear so that you have to be alert to take the information in. And that's what Vice does. Vice takes characters, and this is what I love. Politicians very often are saying something and doing something else. And what he does is he bridges that gap by making sure that the things that they're not saying, the subtext is made literal so that the characters can't hide. The characters can't, like, it's this thing, that I was again saying before, like, it's no good to make a movie like that and your audience walk out of and go, a very subtle piece of drama. Like, you need to fucking understand what he's getting at, otherwise the film doesn't have a point.
Yeah.
And so like, that's why, like, when you look at the scene with George Bush with like the fishing, that's one of my favorite edits of all time when it cuts to the and again it's based in character. The character talked about a passion for fly fishing.
Yeah.
Multiple points, and it keeps having flashbacks to that. So let's use that in character analogy to build on that. Honestly, yeah, just incredible stuff. Just a great soundtrack as well, man.
Oh my God,
that Nicholas Britell.
My favorite score of the entire year by far. I loved that score so much.
we had a bunch of composers that have popped up in the last couple of years that we've just been lucky to find, like including Justin Hurwitz, who has been
Oh yeah,
Damien Chazelle's
yeah, yeah.
composer. There's a couple of other ones, like unfortunately, Johan Johansson's passed away now, but there was a couple that have rocked up in the last few years. The composer of Chernobyl, I think, is going to be a big hit. I can't pronounce her name, but she's doing the soundtrack for Joker and a bunch of other movies. But there's been a bunch of composers that have popped up, and Nicholas Britell is one of them. Like, I'm so glad that we found him with Moonlight, and
Yeah.
then his just seems to have been everyone wants him now. I know Natalie Portman's husband's doing like a ballet film or something, and he's the composer of that. And I'm like, oh my God, that's gonna sound amazing. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
I love that shit.
just Vice,
And
Vice.
like, yeah, and just like to go on Vice a little more, like, so like I said, like, first of all, I agree with you that like you said, it is there to complement the character's performance because like there's so much left unsaid by politics, and
Yeah,
that's kind of the point about what McKay is doing. He's putting everything out in the open, where instead of just like having a bulleted list saying exactly what the politician means, he gives a metaphorical
yeah,
representation of what they're trying to get at. And so like I think that's a brilliant way to go about it because that, like, one, it kind of keeps you engaged in the film, and two, it offers a really original take into like digesting what these people are saying. So that's number one. And number two, like, like I said before, like people who don't either agree with McKay politically, or respect his opinions or whatever, maybe won't like the movie. But I've talked to a lot of people that, I have a lot of friends that are pretty right leaning, and like they saw the movie and they thought it was brilliant. Like they loved it, loved it,
mm,
loved it. And so I was like, it's kind of weird. Like, why did you like it? A lot of people who like kind of agree with you more politically hated it. And they're like, okay, one, you remove yourself from the equation and you just view the filmmaking as genius, but you put yourself in with the politics. It doesn't feel like McKay is shitting on you. It's a lively debate. It's like he's presenting things
yeah.
as fact, but how he presents
Look
them,
at this.
yeah,
Look at this is what he's doing. Yeah.
exactly. Like it presents it like it gives factual evidence for everything that he says, but his interpretation is very much in the form of a video essay or a debate. And that's
Yeah.
why people who either disagree with him or just don't really like that style of filmmaking still like the movie because it presents things that you maybe disagree with in a very, original way where you're able to say, you know what, he has a point there, but I think this is the way that you should really interpret that entire historical, context. Yeah. I will stand Adam McKay to the day I die. He's making a movie about Elizabeth Theranos,
I
what was
know.
her name? Yeah, the
Yeah.
Theranos founder, and Jennifer Lawrence is going to play her, which is going to be amazing. Like I'm so excited. Like I said, my Adam McKay video, quick plug. He's one of the most exciting people that's working right now in film, in my opinion. I think that he's just an
Yeah.
absolute genius.
Yeah. Well, it was such an interesting thing as well, like the fact that he started in. Did you ever see Patrick Willem's video on the absurdity of Adam McKay?
Dude, okay. Funny enough, I watched that after my video essay. Like it came up in my recommended
All
after I
right.
fucking posted that shit, and I'm like, shit. Now it's gonna
Yeah.
look like I actually like stole his premise. Like fuck.
No, no, you guys are in a very different zone on that, I thought. So no,
Yeah.
but that video was really interesting in the way that like because I watched Step Brothers again recently and I was like, no, it really isn't the same brand of dumb comedy that you usually see. Like, yes, it's dumb, but it's like there's so much more to it than that, and it clearly has stuff on its mind, and it's okay with being so weird. I mean, Anchorman is not just like my favorite comedy, like it's my one of my favorite movies ever.
Yeah.
And it's like he makes these movies that I guess with the comedies as well, like they seem like they've got these really like basic like ideas like Anchorman, oh, women can't be in the workplace, but there's so much more going on a line by line
Yeah.
basis. You know, I think Patrick defined it as smart, dumb comedy, but I think
Yeah.
it's something else. Like there's something else going on there where like he's not using human stupidity to like be funny. He's like making us actually observe the way people behave, and he
Yep.
did that again in The Big Short and Vice.
Yep. That was the whole premise of my video. He uses stupidity to highlight, things in American life that we deal with all the time. Corruption,
Yes.
like in the
Yeah.
other guys, obsession with sports idols, and how we, once we meet our idols, that kind of image breaks down in our minds. People being discriminated in the workplace, and like it's these absurd things that like he makes so irreverent and stupid, but because of that, we're able to see the stupidity of certain aspects of our culture after we see that. We're like, oh, it's kind of fucked up. Why do we do that to women? When you see Ron Burgundy, like, slap a woman across the face, like in the middle of the bullpen in the newsroom, like shit like that. It's like I don't know. It kind of centers in the idea that like McKay's a very astute filmmaker and he has a lot to say about American life, and he does so through the guise of irreverent comedies. And like I said in my video, like it's a natural extension of his ideology where instead of just doing it in a subtle way, he's doing his commentary on the American life and culture in more politically charged content, which I think is great.
Yeah, well, I think it's good to have a filmmaker that's playing in that space. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Vice was a fucking funny movie, man. I laughed my ass off at that.
So
there
good.
was so much about that was, yeah. So the fact he's doing both of them at the same time, there's no one really else playing in that space, I don't think, in the same way. So it's good to have him.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw someone the other day saying they were trying to rope him in for an MCU film or something, or they were trying to, or he'd pitched something and
Silver
it hadn't
Surfer,
been
yeah.
picked up.
Silver Surfer.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. He's one of those people. There's a couple of filmmakers that are really active on Twitter that post a lot of great stuff. He's one of them.
Oh yeah,
Ryan.
I think it's Ghost Panther is his tag or some stupid shit.
Yeah, Ghost Panther. Ghost Panther. I think Ryan Johnson posts a lot of really fantastic stuff. Chris McQuarrie that does the
Live Die Repeat,
the Mission Impossible movies.
Yeah.
He yeah, dude, he's all over Twitter. He like just responds to everyone. There's a lot of it's weird. There's a lot of filmmakers out there that like clearly, I don't know. I can't imagine them having the time to like, I guess the equivalent of message fans, but they do get all about like answering people's questions and stuff, which I think's cool.
Yeah.
I think that's dope. Like getting to that level and being that big and still having time to be like, yo, this is how I got here. Here's what you can do to get here as well.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, one of my favorite things that happened this year was after my Spec Nav video dropped, Miles Tower liked my tweet. Shouting
really?
out. I mean, he didn't retweet it, so it's kind of sad. But he saw it, so maybe he watched the video. I don't know.
That's a start. That's a start.
It's a start.
Dude, I don't know if the famous crew ever actually watched. I've had a ton of reviews being retweeted by people. Like I had Alfonso Cuarón retweet the Roma review.
Really? That's awesome.
I had Kirsten Dunst outright share like a video for a movie she did a while back, but I don't know if they actually watch them. I've had a couple of actors from TV shows watch stuff and leave comments. And I was like, oh god, thank god I actually liked what they did. A couple of people that worked on Legion, first season of Legion, and a couple of other smaller shows that I used to review. Because I used to review shows episode by episode. I'm never fucking doing that again. That sucks. Just because people start theorizing in the comments, and you're like, great, that shit I wouldn't have thought of. And then when it comes true in the series, you're like,
damn it.
Okay, well, I guess they were fucking right, but you wouldn't have thought of it otherwise. So, yeah, I don't know.
Damn headcanon, man.
It drives me nuts, man. It ruined season 1 of Westworld for me. Did you watch season 1?
I still got to watch that. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if the whole series is going to be worth it, but you can just watch season 1 on its own and be like, yo, that was sick. And then one of those things where like, don't watch it until you know season 3 is like amazing. Like because season 2 was like good, but not as good. And I was like, oh fuck, I probably should have just left it at season 1. But I'm like, if season 3 is good, then get through 2 onto 3. Like that's where I'm at with Daredevil right now. Now that High Top's convinced me to watch it. I was like, season 3 is the great one. So I'm like, all right, I'll get through it to get to.
Yeah.
Oh well.
I mean, I'll stand Daredevil till the day I die. I love that show. Like Daredevil is just.
Oh, dude, I'm loving it, so I'm fine. Like I'm loving season 2 right now. I'm like 5 episodes in.
Yeah.
I'm loving it, so it's fine. So.
Dude, like, okay, before we sign off. Number one, it is sacrilege that show has not been given a renewed season on Disney Plus. That's just really shitty. Like they have the rights to it. I know, man. I know. It's just like, come on. Like
I feel bad for you guys because I've had so many shows over the years that I love get cancelled. Did you watch Hannibal?
No, I didn't. I never saw it.
Okay. No, that was one that was like the cancellation of that was crushing because it was just as they were about to get up to the Silence of the Lambs storyline. They're like just about to kick it off and they cancelled it. I was like, fuck you. Yeah, Daredevil getting cancelled. Heinous.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you saw season 1, so like What did you think about that continuous shot fight scene in episode 2, like in the hallway?
Oh, I think it's like spectacular. I think that show in general, I'm glad I'm watching it again now because I watched season one like over the course of the day while I was sick. Like just we started this episode by me saying I never binge TV, but I was sick for a day, so I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna watch season one of Daredevil. Um, and while I think like a lot of the shit a lot of it felt kind of drawn out, and I wasn't totally wrapped with all of it. The look of that show and the way it handles its fight choreography and the way it handles the human drama is so much more, like closer to what appeals to me than what the MCU is doing 95% of the time.
Oh yeah.
Like, I'm actually a pretty big fan of the MCU. I love Endgame to a degree that's
Yeah.
borderline irrational.
Yeah.
But in terms of like what Daredevil was doing, I'm like, this is fucking real.
Oh yeah.
This really is focused on the drama. It's not like we got to have this plot and we'll get whatever drama we can in there. It's like actually. So I like season one. I think I'm liking season two more so far. I just got up to the Elektra stuff, which is where people usually say it gets a bit messy. But fuck it, I'm down. I have like a sunk cost thing with TV shows. Once I get into like a certain level with it,
Yeah.
a certain depth, I'm like, it's all fucking good. I don't care. Like you just you're committed to the characters, so you just
Yeah.
want to see what they go through. You don't want to start breaking down each episode and go, oh, I don't really know if this story thing works. Like, I don't really go like that. I'm just like, fuck it. The characters are real people after about 10 episodes for me. By the time you hit a 10 episode mark, I'm like, they're fucking real people. I can't critique the way they live in their life.
Yeah. No,
That's kind of how I feel.
I totally agree because like, I mean like when you're like on the outside looking in on a series like and like you said maybe like 3 or 4 episodes you're like, oh, this kind of sucks, whatever. But once you get the bug and you watch that shit, I mean I rationalize and I will stand the fact that Lost is one of my favorite shows of all time. Like
I still got to cop it, man. It's a Lindelof show, so I've got to
I would I'd advise against it.
No. I genuinely want to, man. Like I'm too fascinated by him as a creator because obviously he's the guy behind The Leftovers, which is my all-time fave, and then he's obviously behind the Watchmen series coming out this year. So it's like, I just I gotta get behind it. But yeah,
it's a weird show, but I think
that's fun.
Maybe I don't know if marijuana is legal in Australia, but maybe you should toke up and watch a season and see what happens.
No, I'll just roll with it. A bit of J.J. Abrams and Damon Lindelof will get me through it. So
yeah, there we go.
I think I've already had it spoiled, but that's fine.
Oh, it's spoiled. Dude, the thing is, like, the show is so bombastically weird and out there. Spoilers don't really do much in that show except for the fact that like, like every season is something even more weird than the last one, but like all the little character moments are like what you kind of stay for.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, man. I don't want to keep it too long.
No, that's so good.
You're eating cereal before you're in the podcast, so I just wanted to, have you on here again, and I'm glad we did this again, man. We'll do it again soon.
No, that's so good, man. We can't leave it that long next time. I know I'm a pain. Like, I can't even fucking organize my own podcast half the time. So I keep trying to get the guys. I'm like, hey, do you want to do it today? And they're like, we'll do it at this time. And I'm like, well, I'm meant to be asleep at that point. So no, it's all good. We got to do this again though, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, I gotta make my way through all the Film Hub people. I got Houston on a couple weeks ago, and now I gotta.
Yeah, I saw you've had Alex on a couple of times. So
yeah. Mauricio, John. I don't think I'm missing. I think Robbie's the only one that I'm missing out of you guys.
Oh, dude, Robbie, we can't even get Robbie for our own one, so that's so good. He's out actually making films now. He's actually living the
dream,
living the thing. So yeah, we're living the struggle, I guess. It's not quite the dream for a while. You're gonna be 40 before being a filmmaker has any kind of dream-like aspect to it. You just live in the struggle.
All right, man. Well, tell people that are going to watch this in the future where they can find you: Patreon, YouTube, Twitter, all that.
So I'm not gonna pitch the Patreon, but obviously, so yeah, I'm Bailey from Breaking Banter and Loverboy Media, and you can follow me on Twitter at Loverboy Media, and I have a huge new video featuring a couple of big YouTubers who are involved in the topic coming out in about. I'm going to say 4 weeks. I think I can get it done in 4 weeks. So keep your eyes peeled for that on Loverboy. That's all I got to plug.
All right. Well, this has been Bailey from Loverboy Media, and thanks a lot for coming on, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.